Welcome back. So, by this time you would have understood that we are currently in the process of discussing a very important, a very new, but very important sector of supply chain management, because it is the need of the future. There are a lot of topics we discuss in or we have discussed so far, which are basic supply chain processes, basic logistics processes, warehousing, inventory management, which we have not done so far, logistic systems, transportation system, the need of warehouses, the types of warehouses, those will remain. Those are the basic theories. But this is modern logistics. This is the need of the hour. This is the need for the future. So, it is extremely important because you belong to that generation who are stepping into the future, and for you the future lies in technology, in supply chain management, which we are going to discuss. Future lies in dealing with data, which again we are going to discuss later on. Future lies in automation, extreme automation and use of technology in supply chain management. We are talking in future of using robots and remote controlled vans and cars, etc., etc., etc. Of course, we are going to see a glimpse or discuss a little in future. But this is also something which is extremely modern and which needs a thorough study and understanding for a generation like you. So, let us quickly recap. Let us go to the slide and see what is the kind of opportunities that we have. So, controlled atmosphere stores for apples and pears, we have already discussed that there are different kinds of fruits which are being imported. There are very sensitive items which needs temperature controlled. Just for a moment, I will just get this plugged on. Okay. So, there are food items which needs temperature controlled atmosphere. So, these are the opportunities. For a while we moved away from the slide. So, let us see the slide once again. Frozen foods growing, we see, you look around, go to advanced stores, go to the urban areas, lot of scientific ripening for bananas and mangoes are happening. Refrigerated transport for processed foods and reserved foods are growing in numbers. That is a kind of opportunity we have. The lifestyle is changing, more and more number of nuclear families, and again an opportunity, because that results in requirement of semi-processed foods, and national and international food chain setting up food courts and stores in various parts of the country. Go to any food court today, you go to any shopping mall today, and you will find almost all the leading food chain brands. You talk of KFC, talk of McDonald's, Subways, you Burger King, you talk of Pizza Huts. These are international food chains, and you will find all of them in all the leading cities in our country. 10 years back, you could only see them either in Bangalore or Delhi or Mumbai or Calcutta. Now, you go to any state capital or even any major city in any state, and you visit a mall, you visit a shopping center, you see a food court, and you will find these companies. You go to a retail store and you will find possibly all kinds of imported and international brand of semi-processed foods. So, the opportunities are growing every day. So, with this opportunity, if you have to continue the if we have to maintain, if we have to satisfy this growing demand of such items, we have no other option, the country has no other option but to develop cold chain logistics. Let us go to the next slide. We will, before we go to the next slide, let me also tell you that there are few slides that we are going to flip through. We are not going to study a few slides because that may not be relevant to you. This particular presentation has been made for people who would like to learn advanced or cold chain logistics in detail, an extended discussion on cold chain logistics. But considering you already going through a particular curriculum, may not require to study a few of the areas on cold chain logistics. So, I may flip through. For the moment, let us go to the slide, and if I flip through, you will understand that I do not want you to your study, you are not required to study that. So, this is something we have already discussed: lack of quality road networks, rising cost of land. Again, we continue the challenges: shortages of power supply, energy costs rise, availability of record quantity and quality of water in most regions. So, lack of quality road network, that is a hindrance, that is an obstacle to good distribution system. Rising cost of land means the number of cold storages, number of large cold storages, the immediate investment cost or the capital expenditure would be quite high. Power and energy we have already discussed earlier, and material water is considered to be one of the most important resources. There are few economics, some statistics which would tell you where we stand or where we are heading to as for this particular industry. So, the cost is around 1200 to 15,000 rupees per meter for positive temperature, around 22,000 to 25,000 rupee per meter for frozen food. Returns normally in the range of 200 to 400 rupees per meter per month for positive temperature, and 600 and 1200 rupees for per metric ton. Per metric ton for positive temperature, for MT means metric tons. So, here we are trying to tell you the kind of expenditure and the returns one can expect from a logistics, cold chain logistics. If one wish to set up or start his own business on cold chain, or companies who have already set up their cold chain logistics, maybe storages, or they run their own reefer vans and temperature controlled trucks, this is the kind of expenditure that they incur, and this is the kind of returns that they expect. Power required varies significantly depending upon various factors, and is difficult to make a generic statement. So, what needs to be done? There are challenges. We have just discussed the challenges. We have also discussed the initiative. So, excise exemption procedure relaxed, concessional electrical tariff. As we have already said, you would have, on this I would like to tell you, those who run air conditioners at home would see a sudden rise in their electricity bill during the summers, because air conditioners, they consume significant amount of electricity. If you watch your bill, if you see your electric bill very carefully, again for ones who use air conditioners at home, you will find the degree of consumption, the difference in consumption of temperature between winter and summer. So, obviously, at a certain tariff our electrical bills at times go up by 8 to 10 times during summer. Now, you can imagine the amount of electricity a cold storage would consume, huge amount of electricity, and you apply a high tariff, all the cold storage owners, promoters, they are going to land up into some serious problems. Their operating cost is going to go out of the roof. So, another initiative that has been taken is to relax, is to reduce the power tariff for cold storage operators. Let us see the other points. A centralized refrigeration process for old cold chain projects, a centralized registration process. There are not multiple registration processes, not state-wise processes, no regional processes. In that way, somebody who wants to venture into cold storages or he wants to set up his own cold storage or cold chain logistics unit somewhere, the government objective is to ease his registration process and not make it complicated. Improve the road and transport facility so that the distribution facility is easier. Since while in transit, the trucks and the vans needs to be refrigerated, we need to have shorter roads between two points, maybe from the plant, from the manufacturing unit to the distributor, or from the distributor to the retailer. Having long and difficult roads will only increase the time, the travel time between one point and the other, and that is not going to help at all as far the quality of the product is concerned. Special incentive for use of green technology. So government has declared incentive for companies who maintains the logistics cold chain logistics process without any pollution, without any waste. So, again we will just go through the challenges again. High initial projects cost, lack of available trained personnel. Okay. This particular slide tells you the cold chain and the impacts the cold chain industry has. Let us concentrate on the slide. There is a global impact. Specialization of agricultural functions permitting transport of temperature sensitive food to distant markets, enables the distribution of vaccine and other pharmaceutical products, can support, that is a global, that is a benefit that an efficient cold chain logistics has brought, that it is taking the industry global, it is allowing producers of such perishable items to either import or export their goods globally, can support the specialization of production and economies of scale of distribution. This could improve large cold storage facilities servicing regional grocery markets or specialized laboratories exchanging temperature sensitive components. So, a regional distribution center, it can help in economies of scale because they can cater to a particular regional market. Suppose a particular center can cater to a regional grocery market without having too many centers being operated. Cold chain logistics is also helpful for timely distribution to the final customers. Having cold chain or cold storages at the cities, at the destination points, can keep the item fresh and can help in delivering the perishable items to the end customers on time. Now, so far we have been discussing or saying that temperature controlled logistics system is required, temperature controlled warehouse is required, temperature controlled, but how do we control? There must be some technologies applied in the warehouses or technologies applied in the transportation system. What are these technologies? A frozen food cannot be packed the way our potato chips are packed, right? So, there are different methods of packing items which are categories under cold chain industries. It cannot be same as other products. So, let us go to the slide and see what are these technologies that help the product to be maintained under a certain temperature. Let us go and see the slide. Dry ice. This is solid carbon dioxide. It is about minus 80 degrees centigrade and is capable of keeping a shipment frozen for an extended period of time. So, dry ice is one item which is used to keep a product under a temperature below minus 80 degrees centigrade. Gel packs, there are a lot of pharmaceutical and medicinal shipments, they are classified as chilled products. Now, there is a difference between frozen and chilled. Frozen items are below freezing point and chilled items are very cold, but not necessarily frozen. Frozen means items which have been converted into ice, that means below the freezing point. So, there are two items. So, gel packs are used for items which are need to be, like for instance, when we drink a soft drink, when we have a soft drink, the soft drink is not frozen, it is in a liquid state, but at a temperature which is above 0 degrees centigrade, but still considered as chilled. So, there is a difference between, we should not confuse between the two terms chilled and frozen. So, let us go back as to what gel packs would do to an item, medicinal items which are classified as chilled, and as I said, these are to be maintained within a temperature range between 2 and 8 degrees centigrade, that is just above 0 degree centigrade. That means, at the just above the freezing temperature. Eutectic plates, also known as cold plates, the principle is similar to gel packs. Plates are filled with liquid and can be reused many times. So, these are maintaining cold. So, there are different types of items. It is important for us, it is not important for us to know the composition of these items. It is important for us to know what these components are, to what extent they control the temperature, what kind of food items, what kind of pharmaceutical items they are used for. Liquid nitrogen, cold substance about minus 196 degrees to keep packages frozen over a long period of time, even longer than what dry ice would do. Mainly used for transport biological cargo such as tissues and organs. It is considered as hazardous items for the purpose of transportation. So, liquid nitrogen should be handled very, very carefully, because these are hazardous and should not come in contact to the atmosphere, to the climate, to the external climate, because they, now what are the kinds of items that are maintained with liquid nitrogen? Organs, tissues, that kind of sensitive items are liquid nitrogen is used for items like tissues and organs, and for a longer period of time, for a long distance, because these items are used for medical purposes, for research, So, even when they move a short distance, the kind of temperature that they need to be maintained is extremely low. Quilts, insulated pieces that are placed over or around freight to act as buffer in temperature variation and to maintain the temperature relatively. These are like blankets, sheets, which also is used to ensure that shipments are maintained at a certain desirable temperature. Reefers, generic name for temperature controlled transport unit. These are called reefer trucks or reefer vans. They can be a van, a sort of a trailer, or a truck, or a standard ISO certified container. These units, which are insulated, are specifically designed to allow temperature controlled air circulation maintained by an attached and independent refrigeration plant. So, these reefer vans, these are like normal trucks only, or reefer trucks. You will see today now such reefer vans growing every time you travel on the road. If you watch closely, if you observe, you will find plenty of reefer vans ploughing on the streets. These reefer vans are like normal containers only, with only the difference is they have a plant, a small plant attached to it, which helps a circulation of air at a certain temperature. The air circulates within the container and keeps the contents in the container cold. It is almost like a refrigerator in our, so it is almost like a mobile refrigerator, a refrigerated container attached to a truck or a transport. So, we have cold chain logistics, we have discussed packaging items, we have just studied about items which should accompany the items, which should be used as a cover, which needs to be used as a protection. Also, while they are in transit, while they are moving, the reefer vans helps them to remain cold or helps them to remain at a controlled temperature through the entire journey. So, these are the technologies behind. So, there are 4 operation phases in the entire logistics process, 4 operational process. Let us see the slide and see what are these operation phases. Now, mind you, we are talking of phases, that means these are in sequence. These are in sequence. First of all, the shipment needs to be prepared, and there comes the consideration of how they needs to be packed, whether which type of container they should get in, what sort of gels should accompany, whether it should be, we have just discussed dry ice, dry carbon dioxide, and also just let us go back and see liquid nitrogen, gel packs, dry ice. So, when you prepare a shipment, at that phase the logistics or the people who are responsible for preparing the shipment should apply these items, which helps to keep the shipment fresh and helps the shipment or that particular container at a certain temperature. Then the modal choice. What do you mean modal choice? How is it going to travel? Is it going to travel by road transport? Is it going to travel by air, or is it going to go by sea, etc., etc., etc. Sometimes a shipment is subject to multimodal transport. When you go overseas, so a part of the ship journey is through road transport, then it goes to the seaport or the airport, and then it is put into an air cargo or a container or a cargo ship, then it lands at the destination station, and then again it is subject to road transportation. Within the country there also can be multimodal, because shipment coming can move a certain distance through railways and then can again get into reefer vans for road transport. The other phase is customs procedure. What are the documentation required? Because mind you, compared to normal shipment, all these needs a pre-planning, a very definite systematic pre-planning, because we understand all the companies need to make the journey as short as possible. The shipment, the process should be very smooth and prompt, because the waiting period or the waiting time has to be minimal. The last mile means when a shipment reaches a destination, then from the warehouse or from the distributor, the retailer, to the customer. That is the last leg of the journey. That is the fourth operational phase. And what is the other phase? Integrity and quality assurance. We have discussed in supply chain management as a whole that it is a responsibility of logistics managers. Now, when we say logistics managers are there everywhere, at the manufacturing unit, at the warehouses, at the assembly area, at the distribution centers, with the distributor, with the retailer. So, any item, whether it is a perishable item or not, whether it is a consumer good or not, whether it is an industrial good or not, it is the logistics, the efficient logistics operation that ensures that the shipment is delivered and goes through this entire system without having its quality degraded, having it by maintaining its quality, because that is what the customer needs, because ultimately the shipment has to be delivered to the customer. That is what we call as quality assurance. At every part, at every unit, at every center, people who are handling a particular item needs to be extremely careful, because all these units or facilities or centers are connected to each other, and it is a combined effort that will ensure that the customer receives the good the way it is desired. It is more so in cold chain logistics, because in cold chain logistics the entire process has to be as fast, as smooth, as efficient as possible, because there is no room for error. The shipment has to move through this logistic system very, very promptly. So, these are the 4 areas of operations: decisions, planning, strategies as to how the shipment should be prepared, how the cartons are to be prepared. These are not normal cartons, these are insulated cartons. When I say insulated cartons, obviously they do not allow heat to get inside, do not allow our external temperature to get inside, unlike the normal cartons. Then, like normal logistics process, the company has to decide, or the logistics managers has to decide whether it has to travel by train, railways, or sea or air, or whatever it is. Then they should ensure that the customs procedure is smooth, the documentations are perfect, so that there is no haltage, there is no stoppages, there is no complaints at the customs. Then once a shipment reaches the destination point, the logistics manager should ensure that at that last leg of delivery, the same continuity of temperature, the same freshness, the same efficiency is also executed. And also overall the integrity and the quality assurance, the quality of the product is intact. Let us see the next slide, which will give you an idea as to what a reefer truck looks like. Excuse me. So, you see insulated trucks. If you see the right hand truck, which has a small plant at the top, and what does that refrigerator plant do? They circulate air inside the container at the back, which helps the container to remain at a certain temperature. It is a truck or a van, usually 1 ton or larger, refrigerated unit built either directly on the frame or is transported by the trailer. It is refrigerated by diesel powered generators and liquid carbon dioxide. Reefer trucks range from simple ice cream trucks to large containers carrying perishable goods across the country. So, reefer vans, as you can see from the images, from the figures, there are different categories of reefer vans. Smaller reefer vans which carry items of low volumes, as I said, maybe ice creams or butter or cheese, and there are bigger containers, bigger reefer vans which carry items, which carry bulk items like vegetables or fruits and other items over a long distance. We are going to end our session with the next slide with 2 images. On the top, pharmaceutical sector is extremely important. Cold chain logistics operation is extremely critical to the pharmaceutical sector, and the slide above gives you a diagrammatic or image of how the process of cold chain occurs in the pharmaceutical sector, right from the plant to the warehouse to the distribution system to carriage of insulated boxes, how it is handled, and finally how it is delivered to the end customer. So, it starts at the top left corner and ends at the right bottom corner. When you see cold chain management, particularly for the food products, it starts at the farm, then it gets into a truck, a temperature controlled truck, sent to the pre-cooling center or the cold storages. From the cold storages, again it gets into the refrigerated transport. From the pre-cooling center, it can go to the refrigerated transport, and ultimately it is sent to the sale outlets, which primarily are the retail outlets. So, if you see, the overall supply chain process is quite the same. The primary difference, as we said at the very beginning, lies with this word called cold. When we say cold, either frozen or chilled. So, there are items which needs to be kept frozen right from here to here, or to be kept chilled right from here to here, and through the entire journey. So, every player involved in this logistical system has a responsibility to ensure that this is done. We are almost through with cold chain logistics. In the next class, which would be next Tuesday, we are going to discuss another very important topic. We have already discussed warehouse management. In modern times, we have gone beyond. The reason I always mention the subject that we are going to discuss in subsequent classes is because so that you are mentally prepared and probably can explore a little in the internet if required. From warehousing, we are now talking of distribution centers and fulfillment centers. And why? What is the difference between a warehouse and a distribution center and fulfillment center? In fact, before warehouse we used to call storage points as godowns. So, what results in godowns to warehouses to distribution and fulfillment center? One primary reason is the e-commerce industry, e-commerce, a boom in e-commerce. All that we are going to discuss in our next class on distribution channel, distribution center and fulfillment center. Till such time, happy studying, and I'll see you again next Tuesday. Thank you very much.